How many times have you made a resolution to make this the best year of your life, but it basically just turned out to be the same as the year before? And why is it that almost 90% of us abandon our New Year's resolutions after just 1 month? If you're tired of making resolutions that in the back of your mind you're thinking, yeah, right, but you want them anyway, I'm going to show you how to make resolutions work for you in 22. Welcome to The Power of Quiet, showing you that your happiness, as well as your power to have, do, and be whatever you choose, it's right inside of you, right now. And all you have to do is quiet that noisy mind and recognize a bigger part of you, a part that here we often call beingness. And it's from this beingness, this quiet presence that you are, that you recognize that everything in the world is your picture, that you are the owner, and everything that you wish to demonstrate in the world, you can, because it is your picture. And it might sound pretty far out and pretty simple, but it's something that is provable. And what we're all about here is proving it, showing you how to prove it to yourself. Now, a perfect time to really prove this out and recognize where this power is to have, do, and be whatever you choose and be the master of your world is right now, because it's the new year. And with the new year comes new resolutions. It's like a ritual, right? We look forward to a brand new year, a new hope, looking for something better. This is going to be the best year of my life. But for most of us, it doesn't work out that way. We start out with a new year with great ambitions, but basically, the new year just turns out to be the same as the old. I mean, just look back at the end of 2020. Everyone was like, whew, all right, good thing that disaster of a year is over. Let's move on to 21. Let's get out of that mess. Let's forget the whole thing and start fresh. But what happened now at the end of 21? Everyone's like, oh my God, that was just as bad, if not worse, as 2020. Now, to be perfectly honest, I had the best year in 2020 and an even better year in 21. I used the tools that we practice here, and I used them for the purpose of releasing all this craziness that was going on. I used it as an opportunity to bring up everything that got stirred up in me about all the lockdowns, all the fear of getting sick, all the political tensions, threats of war, all that stuff. To bring up all the garbage that I've been sitting on in myself, let that stuff go so that my mind can just go quiet from all that yip about, oh my God, what about this? What about that? What am I going to do? Just quiet all that nonsense. Because if you haven't noticed, that mind doesn't have any answers. That mind does not want you to be positive or you to have success or abundance in your life. Now, of course, it says it does, but it's a liar. And all you have to do is just pay attention to it, how it talks to you. How often is it really satisfied and content versus worried and judgmental and always dissatisfied and always nagging on you for the sole purpose to get you to get down on yourself and beat yourself up? Isn't that how the mind talks to you? I mean, really, how often does it say something nice to you? As opposed to something negative or some doom and gloom stuff. Or basically some poor me story that it just keeps repeating to you over and over and over again. But sometimes it seems that, we can't get away from that mind. It's always there with us, always talking, and it won't shut up. But rarely do we look at who that mind is talking to. We're so focused on what that mind is saying, we don't recognize who we are, who's listening to that thing, and the fact that we're the owner of it. And that was my mission, especially in the last couple of years, to get that thing quiet. And when the mind is quiet, you, as the being, becomes laser focused. Everything is just an effortless picture. And that's what I set out to prove for myself. So I decided how I wanted 2020 and 2021 to go for me. I decided that I was going to grow in my own consciousness, and that this movement, the power of quiet, was going to expand, and that those participating were also going to grow in consciousness, that the classes that we have regularly just get better and better and better. And all of us as a group become more and more masterful. And also I decided that I wanted more abundance, and that certain passions or hobbies of mine, that they expanded. And boy, they really did. One of my passions is photography, which I've been doing, for over 30 years. And I've taken some good pictures, but the last couple of years, it's gotten really good. And I'm really happy with some of the results I've been producing with it. So the last couple of years have been a complete joy. Now, and I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that from my experience and my determination to stick with the releasing method has proven that releasing works. I know it works. So the more I do it, the more it works. And that's what I'm all about, and that's what I'm here to share. And here, I want to share with you something that will really help you get clear on what you would like to see here in 2022 and make this the best year of your life easily. So let's take a look at our resolutions for this upcoming year, our goals, what it is that we would like to achieve this year. Now, let me ask you, and you can be honest with yourself, how good are you with your resolutions? Now, you may have not even thought about them because it's like, well, why bother? Because I think statistically, like almost 90% of us, we don't really stick with our resolutions. We have these great plans for the new year, and we go at it with a lot of momentum and force for the first couple of weeks. But then things slow down and very quickly just fall off of a cliff. And why is that? Now, there's a lot of ideas and theories. Oh, we just lack clarity, or I don't know, maybe we need this or that or whatever. But what I want to share with you is just a very simple force that gets in your way, that derails you on your intentions. And that is resistance. Now, resistance, it could be obvious. Like with your resolution. Maybe your resolution is to work out. I'm going to start going to the gym this whole year. I'm going to get all in shape. I'm going to get myself in fighting weight. I'm going to get that nice bikini body. Whatever. So you start off strong. You get that membership. You show up regularly. But then it doesn't take long before you're like, oh, Do I really have to get up and go to the gym again? Oh, I got to take a shower after that, and I just don't have time. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. And then we start procrastinating, which is like another obvious form of resistance. Oh, tomorrow. No, I don't feel like it today. Oh, we'll do it tomorrow. And then we just kick that can down the road. Now, that resistance, it can be obvious. But what's not so obvious, and this is really where we trip ourselves up with whatever our goals or intentions are, is there's a subtle form of resistance that comes in the form of indecision. And that's like, well, I want this goal, but part of me doesn't want this goal. And I'll give you an example. See, what this is like, we want to do something, but we don't want to do it, but we're trying to do it anyway. And because of that, it's difficult. And we got all sorts of problems and obstacles that get in our way, and it takes a long time. It's like, why is it taking me so long to get the results? And some examples of this are like, if you're at work and you have a project that you have to do. Now, part of you, well, you don't want to do the project. Oh, it's boring. I don't want to have to do that. But part of you kind of want to do it because, well, it's your job. And if you don't do it, you won't make money. You might get fired. Okay, I got to do it. But I don't want to do it. But I got to do it anyway. So you go through the motions. It takes time, all this effort. And you're like, at the end of it, I hated that. And then before you know, you got to do it again and again and again. Now, another example of this is also in relationships. And you can see how, like, part of you, if you're in a relationship that, you know, it's kind of rocky, it's not always smooth, part of you want the relationship. Oh, I like this person. And I like, you know, the benefits of being with this person, you know, what they do for me. I like having that warm body, that sense of companionship. I like their personality, and on and on and on. But they also drive me crazy sometimes. And there's little things that they do that really annoy me. And part of me is kind of dissatisfied with this person. No, maybe I could do better. You know, we have, you know, like different ideas. Part of us wants to do it. Part of us doesn't want to do it. You know, sometimes we're thinking, oh, maybe I could be better off being single. All right, I could just be the master of my time. So we have these ideas, but we're going through a relationship anyway. And because of that, you know, these pulling forces. See, it's like straddling a threshold. Like you have 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out of the door. And you're trying to make that whole thing work. And that's why it's difficult. And this is a big thing that comes up with our goals and stops us with our resolutions. Because maybe we have a resolution or goal for this new year to have a lot more abundance in our life, right? I'm going to be a millionaire. That's my goal. And this year's the year. Part of us, we obviously want to do it, right? Oh, I've always wanted to be a millionaire. I've been hungering for that. Definitely I want that, right? No question about that. But secretly, we don't want it. Part of us is thinking, well, what would I have to change about myself in order to be a millionaire? Right? Would I have to leave my comfort zone? Maybe I'm going to have to do a lot of work. Maybe I'm going to have to become a business person. Maybe I'm going to have to risk a lot in order to win it big. So part of us wants to do it. Part of us doesn't want to do it. And we're trying to do it anyway, right? We're trying to work on this goal, but we're not addressing the part of us that's like, no, I don't want to go there. And that's the part that stops us. We don't even realize it. Now, a lot of this stuff is just unconscious. And that's why we really have to do this releasing work, to dig in and bring this stuff up so that we can just clear it all out. And like I said, the place that you want to get to is where that mind is quiet. And what that means, like in the situation with your goal, is everything that's pulling you in a different direction. Like part of you wants to do it, part of you doesn't want to do it. You have to clean up both sides of that. Not just the part that doesn't want to do it, but also the part that does want to do it, because that's a bunch of noise in your mind. And every bit of noise in your mind is an obstacle to having your goal. You get that mind quiet, it's like you become laser focused. And that decision to have, whatever it is that you want to have, becomes so clear. It's just like an effortless thought. And the getting to it itself becomes effortless. Maybe you have to do some steps. Maybe you have to start a business if you want to be a millionaire. But it just all becomes natural and easy for you to take those steps and get to that destination. All you have to do is quiet your mind. That's the key. And in a second, I'll show you how to start quieting that mind. But let me just point out what it is that's making all that noise. And it's wanting. That's the thing that's keeping your mind active. Not only like with the other decision, like, oh, I'm afraid, I can't do that, and all the stuff that's kind of pulling you away from your goal, because that's making noise in your mind. It's like second guessing yourself, it's sabotaging yourself, it's all the fears and all the stuff that comes up. It's noise in your mind. But also the wanting that's to have that goal. And that's making a bunch of noise. It's going on and on about, once I get this goal, I'm going to be so happy. Everything's going to be so great. I'm not going to have to deal with that problem again. And this other thing is going to go away that's been bugging me. That's just making all sorts of noise in your mind. And in you, who's stuck there having to listen to it, as long as you're listening to that noise, that's what you get. And what Lester Levinson always pointed out is you got to examine your thinking, because everything that you get in the world, everything that is happening around you, and some of it you might think that you have no power over. It's just happening to you. You know, like all the stuff that's been going on in the world for the past couple of years. Right? Well, how can I control this outbreak? How can I control what all these crazy governments are doing and all these other crazy protesting people and fighting factions? I don't have any control over that. And that might seem true. But consider this. If you just examine what's going on in your mind, when you have all this wanting, and all these like problems, right? Well, this is in my way, or this other problem. All this noise that's going on in your mind. And you're looking at it, and it's complaining about what those people are doing and what happened to you in this situation. When you're looking at that noise itself and all that complaining that the mind is doing, that's exactly what you get. And it's up to you to prove that if you just quiet all that noise, then maybe, just maybe, all that stuff that seemed to have power over you no longer has power over you. That in that state of quiet, in that state of stillness, you're the boss. And in that peaceful place, which is a very positive and loving place, what you are experiencing internally takes form externally. And your life around you is nothing but harmony and abundance. Everybody else can be crazy, running around with their head on fire. But your world is absolutely perfect. It's your picture. And it's provable. It might sound kind of far out, but what we're all about here is showing you that this way is real. So, again, what is it that makes all that noise in the mind? It's the wanting. Everything that you're wanting, your mind is constantly thinking about. Because that mind, it's like a computer. And when you're wanting something, it's like you put in an instruction into that computer to go find that thing for me, right? It's like a spider on an internet search engine. It's going to go crawling the whole World Wide Web looking for an answer. It's not going to stop because you just put that thing in motion. So you want something, you put it into your mind, how do I get this thing? And it just goes and goes and goes. And it comes up with all sorts of thoughts. Like if you want a new car, it's like, oh, well, how will I afford it? What's the insurance going to be like? You know, what are the payments going to be like? What kind of paint colors do they have? What about the transmission, the engine? Is it going to be fast? Is it going to be safe? All these thoughts about it. And you're always thinking, well, how am I going to do it? Is it going to be the right car? And so on. And also the thought of, oh, actually, that is a great car. And if I have that, that would just be super wonderful. And we go daydreaming about how joyous our life will be once we have that car. And now, finally, one day we decide, you know what? Screw it. I'm just buying that car. And there we are. We're like styling around, enjoying our new ride, feeling on top of the world. Wow, this is great. I got the car. Life is wonderful. And we feel happy, right? Now, where does that happiness come from? Does it come from that hunk of metal and rubber and glass? Or is it for that particular moment, we're not thinking about how am I going to get this car? How can I afford it? Is it going to be the right car for me? And on and on and on. See, we already took care of all of that. We got the car. So we're not thinking about it anymore, how to get it. So the mind goes quiet for a brief period of time. And we attribute that happiness to that hunk of metal. Hey, this car did it to me. But it isn't. That's not what made you happy. It's in that moment. Your mind is quiet. There's no wanting going on because you already have the car for that moment. And we make this mistake in thinking that, well, as long as I can keep fulfilling my desires, I'll be happy. And that has us like running on a treadmill. Because if you haven't noticed, that happiness when you get something that really makes you happy, it doesn't last long. And before you know it, you're starting to get dissatisfied with your car. Did I really make the right decision? How long are those payments going to go on for? Oh, and I got a scratch already on the side. Oh, it's no longer new anymore. And, oh, it uses up a lot of gas. And I should have gotten a more efficient car. Before long, we're not happy anymore. And the same goes for relationships. That should be obvious. Right? We meet someone like, oh my God, what a wonderful person. If I could hook up with them, I would be on top of the world. And maybe we do. Maybe we get them in bed. And we're like, oh, what a wonderful experience, right? Isn't that like the most ultimate happiness and satisfaction that we can experience, is having that incredible orgasm? Right? We're like on top of the world. And why is that? Is it because of that hunk of flesh laying next to us? Or after we have an orgasm, what are we thinking about? Are we thinking about the meeting that we have the next day? Are we thinking about, what do I need to get at the grocery store? No, we're not thinking about anything at all. Our mind is just completely satiated and quiet for that moment. And that's why we feel so wonderful. And the same thing, the same phenomenon happens when we just see something really incredible, like the most beautiful sunrise. We wake up and we see that and we're like, oh, look at all those colors. Oh, the wonderful beauty of nature just takes my breath away. And see, in that moment, we just feel like on top of the world. And it's just in that moment, we're seeing those colors and everything, and we're not thinking about anything else. Our mind is just quiet. We're just taking it all in. And we're sitting there going, oh, I wish this moment could last forever. But it doesn't. Even if that beautiful sunrise stayed that way forever, it wouldn't take long for us to go, I've seen that already. And we're not satisfied. Okay, I need to see something better. I need to see a more beautiful sunrise. I need to have a different palette of colors. Then I'll be happy. Then I'll be, okay, I did it all now. So when you start to look at how this wanting works and this seeking for happiness and how it just sets in all this noise in our mind, and we're just playing this game of quieting that noise for a brief moment, just for a little nibble of happiness. And then we're back on that treadmill again. That's the thing that causes the resistance, causes our dissatisfaction, our continued seeking for happiness, and all that noise in our mind. And it's up to us to put an end to that. So let's do that now. So I'm going to show you. It's a very simple and direct process in which you can see for yourself that you can let go of that wanting. And what happens when you do? That when you let go of that wanting, that mind goes quiet, and immediately you have a change in perception. And what you're going to see is that the idea of wanting itself is actually getting you to hold the wrong thing in mind. That wanting itself equates to lack. In fact, you can even look that up in the dictionary. Check it out. The word want is easily the most negative word that's in the dictionary. Look it up. It says poverty, despair, lack, neediness. That's want. And of course, that's what we're doing all the time. We're like wanting. And in our mind, it's all about wanting. It's conditioned us to think that in order to get something, we got to want it. But all you have to do is just look at how easily we're manipulated with our wanting. Look at all the advertisement and commercials. It stirs up our wanting. Why? So that they can manipulate us and get us to open our wallets and throw money at them. That's it. And then when we're short of money, we're lacking that money, and whatever it is that promised happiness, that if we get that wonderful thing that they were selling, we would be happy. But of course, we're no happier having that thing than we were before. So want is lack, basically. And that's just provable. See, take a look at something that you want in life. Maybe it's one of your goals for 2022. Something that you want to be better in your life this next year. And notice how you feel about that right now. When you think about that thing that you want, And as you're thinking about it, just bring your focus to your stomach or chest area. Because if you just pay attention to this feeling area here, you might notice like a tightness or contraction. Even a feeling of resistance. Even though you want that thing, there's like, right? It's just like a kind of a clenching feeling. Just notice when you think about that thing that you want. Now, conversely, take a moment and think about something that you have in your life right now. Something that is working for you in your life. Just think about that. And again, pay attention to what you're feeling here in your stomach or chest. And you might notice that there's not as much clenching there. And what is that kind of clenching feeling about? Basically, it's your body letting you know that when you're into wanting something, that it is a lacking, needy feeling. And you could feel it just right here in that tension, in that clutching. You notice that? You notice the difference between when you think about something you want and something you have? And also, you might notice that when you think about something that you have, your mind is kind of quiet about it. In fact, it's probably so quiet it even took you a while to think about, well, what do I have? Because all the things I want are obvious, right? What do I want? That mind is ready to jump in. It's got a bunch of noise about that. But the things that you have, your mind isn't so noisy about. It's nice and quiet. And when you look at the thing that you want, look at how much noise starts to show up. Think about the thing that you want to happen this year. And you might notice all sorts of noise like, well, that's really unlikely. I'll never get it. I'm not good enough. I'm just going to get more of the same. And on and on and on. Right? And again, those thoughts show that resistance and that part of you that's like, well, I kind of want to do it, but I really don't because, well, let's face it, I'm not good enough anyway. So that wanting, where's that wanting coming from? Did some supreme being dictate that you got to want this? Or did society dictate that you want it? Maybe, But basically, whether you picked it up from society or whatever, nobody gave you that idea. Nobody told you, I got to want this. Because if that was true, then everybody would have to want the same thing. But everybody wants something different, right? Everybody makes up their own mind about what they want. So that want is nothing else but a decision. That's it. It's got no power over you. It's your decision. I want that or not. And if it's your decision, that means that you're in charge here. And you could just easily turn that around. And if that want is lack, and if you turn that around, you go from lacking. What's the opposite of lacking? Having, right? Not lacking. So if you just let that wanting go, then maybe you'll get the opposite of what you've been getting, which is lack. Try it out. So think about that thing that you want. And again, notice how it feels. Bring your attention to your stomach or chest area. Just to notice if there's a contraction, tightness, a feeling of lack, of emptiness, like, oh, not enough. And that's telling you something. It's telling you that you're making the wrong decision. But since it's your decision, right now, in this moment, could you just let go of wanting that a little bit? Just a little bit. It's just a decision, right? It's just as simple as deciding yes or no. There's no trick to it. It's just a decision. Could you let go of wanting it a little bit more? And could you let go of wanting it a little bit more? And a little bit more. Now you might have an idea in your mind that, oh, I better not let go of this wanting because of that conditioning that we all grew up with that says, well, in order to get something, I got to want it. If I didn't want anything, I would just sit around and do nothing. I'd be a bum. Well, if that is true, look at it this way. If you end up in that place, you can always go back to wanting because you have lots of practice doing that. So if it doesn't work out for you, you can just go back to doing what you've been doing before, if you're really happy with that. But just right now, check it out. See what you find. Could you let go of wanting this goal of yours for 2022? And could you let go of wanting it a little bit more? And a little bit more. Not too much, just a little bit at a time. Right? Sometimes, it's a big leap to drop all of our desire for something, but we can just let go of a little bit at a time, right? So could you let go of wanting it a little bit more? And a little bit more. And more. And even more. And even more. And a little bit more. All right, now notice how you feel. Again, you can kind of check your feeling center here. You might notice that there's not as much contraction as there was a few minutes ago. You also might notice that you feel lighter, a bit happier. And you also might notice that your mind is a little bit quieter now. Notice that? And that right there is proof of everything I was just talking about. That you, the owner of that mind, when you tell it, okay, I want this, it just goes into hyperactive mode to try to find that thing. And it just makes noise. And all it comes up with is problems, obstacles, negativity, tells you, oh, you're not good enough, beat yourself up, why bother, all that fun stuff. But you, as the owner, you decide now, I'm just going to let go of wanting it. And to hell with whether I get it or not. I'm okay either way. Notice it's just a decision. It's your decision. And look at what happens. You get lighter, happier, more peaceful and quiet. And check this out. Take a look at that goal of yours for this year. And see if it's more possible now. Notice a difference in your consciousness of it. It might just be just a subtle sense of, yeah, I could have it. And see, in this state, you got something else talking to you besides that mind of yours, which is just a very limited instrument. What's talking to you here is beingness. And unlike the mind, which is always negative, beingness is always positive. It's always coming from a place of I can. And I'm whole, complete, and happy, just as I am. That's how beingness talks to you. And which would you rather listen to? Would you rather listen to your mind, or would you rather listen to beingness? I think the answer is obvious. But here's the thing. You got to take responsibility for all the noise that you accumulated in your mind. You've been doing it your whole life. Like I said, this habit of wanting, it's been with you since day one, and you've been practicing it your whole life. Ever since you were a little kid. All right, I want a bicycle. I want that G.I. Joe. I want this. I want that. I want that sugary cereal. And then we scream and cry when our mom drags us out of the cereal aisle. Oh, I want it. It's going to make me so happy. And because I can't have it, I'm miserable. That's the mind taking over. So you can see what's going on when you take a look at it. And you can really get a good picture of it when you start releasing. But again, like I said, you got to take responsibility, because you have been wanting a lot of stuff your whole life. And you've been dissatisfied with a lot of stuff, struggling with that lack. So you got to clean all of that up. And what I pointed out earlier at the beginning of this whole thing, I've covered a lot of territory here, but going back to this idea of resistance and deciding, well, do I really want this thing, or do I want this thing? And we have these conflicts. We got to look at everything that we want in life and clean it all up. And here's where we want to get to. This is the perfect state to be in, is where we really have no preference either way. It's like, I can go left or I can go right. It makes no difference to me. And if my goal is to, be a millionaire, I can be a millionaire, or I can be flat broke. It makes no difference to me. See, there's no wanting in either direction. And when there's no wanting, there's none of that pulling and pushing force going in all these different directions. And we're just centered. We're in the now. And in this place, the mind is beautifully quiet. And whatever it is that we do decide to do, it's just an effortless thought. If you'd like to get to this place, I invite you to join me for this new 6-week course that's coming up called Living My True Purpose. It's all about finding out who you are, what your real purpose is here in this world. Is it to accumulate a bunch of toys, have a bunch of people around you that you're going to have to give up anyway at the end of this life? But we hold on to all this stuff, thinking that all this stuff and all these people make me happy. But it never works. And as long as we're chasing after all that stuff, we forget who we are. And what this course is going to do is going to bring you right back in touch with who you are. And we're going to be working on cleaning up all of these different goals of ours. Because a lot of times we don't realize how we sabotage ourselves, because part of us doesn't want to have this wonderful goal that our mind is telling us is going to make us happy. And we're going to dig this stuff up so we could see it and then release it and get to this perfect, peaceful place. So that as you move forward into 2022, you could just decide everything that you're going to have. And it's just an effortless decision. Prove it. So I'll put a link to this course up above here and also in the comments below. Or in the description. But in the meantime, until we start at the end of the month, really look at what it is that you're wanting in life and how the wanting for that is really keeping you dissatisfied and keeping you hungry, either to get that thing in the first place or hungry for more. Stop running on that treadmill. Get to the place where you're just happy and you have everything. It's a piece of cake.